Birds, they're everywhere. Roosting in treetops, floating on lakes, standing in marshes, perched on wires, and hovering high above our heads. Our language brims with bird idioms, expressions like henpecked, cold turkey, night owl, swan song, sitting duck, wild goose chase, and countless similes, like free as a bird, crazy as a loon, naked as a jaybird, are all derived from bird behavior. Everyone knows the early bird gets the worm, not to mention a parking space, and that birds of a feather flock together. How many professional sports teams take their names from our fine feathered friends? Eagles, Falcons, Seahawks, Cardinals, Blue Jays, Orioles, and my Ravens. And let's not forget the NBC Peacock, American Eagle Outfitters, Wild Turkey, Grey Goose, Dove Soap, Kiwi Shoe Polish, and of course, Twitter. What is it about birds? We draw them, watch them, count them, photograph them, and even try to mimic their ability to fly. Why are we humans so fascinated by our avian cousins?
I grew up next door to an ornithologist, so I became interested in birds as a kid, and got a Peterson Field Guide and started marking off birds that I'd seen, and I think it's a 47 version of the Peterson Field Guide, which has changed a lot since then. But I still have it. So I've been birding basically all my life.
I got interested in birds on our farm where I grew up. Surprisingly, my first interest was the same way Audubon did it, called shotgun birding. I would see a bird on the farm and shoot it and take it home and go find out what it was.
My own bird fascination began when I was a child. I often heard a strange, plaintive bird call deep in the forest. What is that bird? I would ask, but no one seemed to know. Then 2 summers ago, I heard that same plaintive call again, this time here in my own forest, and I decided to investigate. After viewing a dozen internet sites that offered sample bird songs, I stumbled onto the originator of the mysterious call. It was a male mourning dove trying to attract a mate. When one landed in a tree branch in my backyard, I watched him puff out his chest and issue his call. Moments later, a female joined him on the branch, and a mating ritual ensued. I witnessed their careful construction of a nest, their patient vigil waiting for the eggs to hatch, and their devotion to feeding the 2 chicks once they had. Then one day the chicks and their parents flew off into the trees, leaving only the empty nest to mark their stay. At some point I realized I had inadvertently become a bird watcher and decided to seek professional help. The Cool Springs Nature Preserve is the home of the Potomac Valley Audubon Society. The property offers 32 acres of walking trails in forest, field, and marsh. It's 7:30 in the morning, and I am up and out and here at the Cool Spring Preserve in Jefferson County, West Virginia, to do my very first bird walk. People are starting to arrive now, and I hear a Carolina wren, I'm told, off in the woods there. So this should be fun. I'm going to be with people who actually know what these birds are that sing to me every morning.
The goldfinches are in and out of here.
The cardinal is pretty.
It may have flown off because I saw something fly that way.
At first, I had a little trouble seeing these tiny creatures in trees still thick with foliage. Cows are much easier to spot. The Audubon Society birders were very welcoming. They took me under their collective wings and generously identified dozens of different birds.
That's a capper.
Catbird.
Turkey vulture here, if you want to say.
Carolina wren, right?
The Baltimore and the Orchard Orioles.
Sparrow.
Looked like a song sparrow.
There's a cardinal in there, and there's something on the trunk. Is that a sapsucker?
It's a bird, not my imagination.
It's a field sparrow.
Red-tailed hawk. I see him. A towhee?
I just saw my first eastern towhee. I'm very excited. When you hear a bird telling you to drink your tea all day long, that is a male eastern towhee looking for love. They must see color. Birds.
Birds have 4 color sensors instead of 3, and they see into the infrared and into the UV compared to what we see. So they see a broader spectrum of colors. I like being out in nature and walking them, and I love seeing animals and trees as well as birds, but I've gotten into birds sort of because I like to list them and keep a life list and a West Virginia list and all of that.
3 yellow-bellied sapsuckers, 2 red-bellied woodpeckers. Well, we have 2 on the other side and 2 more here.
Even after spending 2 hours in the field and walking nearly a mile, I was not ready for our expedition to end. Watching and listening for the birds in this pastoral setting had been like a guided meditation. I came away from the walk with a pervasive sense of peace and clarity. I also realized that I would need a telescopic lens like Bill's if I wanted to photograph wild birds. I ordered the lens and received it just in time for my second bird walk with the Washington County Bird Club. I met my host, George Warwick, the Bird Club call officer, for an early morning stroll along the Potomac at Taylor's Landing. Mother Nature had delivered a perfect morning. We set out walking north from mile marker 81 on the C&O Canal towpath. My companions identified nuthatches, woodpeckers, jays, sparrows, cardinals, and a bunch of Carolina wrens and chickadees. Once again, I had trouble spotting these petite chirpers, but other critters were more obliging. Finally, near the end of the walk, a woodpecker and a blue jay stayed still long enough for me to get a picture. Here at Hagerstown City Park, bird watching is a breeze. You don't have to get up in the middle of the night. The birds are big and easy to see, and they have no fear of most reasonable human beings. In one afternoon, you can see gaggles of geese, rafts of ducks, and regattas of swans. And all of them are happy to pose and perform for a human with a camera. Photographing wild birds takes some mad camera skills, a good eye for spotting birds, and equal measures of patience and luck. Birding may seem a bit eccentric to some, but having experienced it from inside the local birding societies, I am determined to go on more expeditions next year when the birds come home to celebrate spring.
They learn from each other, they learn from their parents, they learn from their neighbors. They have incredible navigation skills in the migration. They fly from South America to North America and they come back to the same spot.
And I hope those mourning doves and eastern towhees remember where I live. I'll be watching and listening for their return.